So hey guys, we welcome you to the alumni series which the research community is conducting so that you know which alumni of you went into research and you have some track on how to get into the research domain. So the first up we have Talukdar Bhaiya from 2019 batch. The most clickbait part of this video is gonna be how he got his semester 8 internship. He didn't spend his semester 8 in the college but rather in Netherlands, and he worked in the physics, and he did his three internships during his college time: Liverpool, Netherlands, Israel, and as well as working as an undergraduate researcher. So during all of this, I would like to ask you, Tavir Bhaiya, what are you even working on right now?
So right now, my field of interest is fluid dynamics, and when I say fluid dynamics, it's a mixture of course, classical fluid dynamics and also a mixture of applied mathematics. So it's a good balance between physics and mathematics, I would say. And right now, my work that I'm working on is a drop sliding on an incline, and how bringing out the lubricant film makes it a different dynamic regime. So it's more of that in technical terms, but in more of a layman terms, it's just talking about droplets.
All right, all right. And did you had any mechanical link with that? Did you had to study physics as an extra subject, or you were able to work that out with the mechanical?
No, not really. So the thing is, in mechanical, you have courses called fluid mechanics, which is a very basic introduction to fluid mechanics, and also there's a course called as fluid advanced fluid mechanics, which is taught by Deepu, but it is for PhD students and the master students.
All right.
But I did take that course in my seventh semester, and
Okay.
that is also quite a good introduction to fluid dynamics. But other than that, I don't think there's any connection of mechanical and the part I'm doing right now. Most of the stuff that I did was by doing research, learning it, and also by taking few more extra courses.
All right, that's great. So you had the passion there. So, as you are working in Netherlands, how is life like at Netherlands? Because we don't have any immigration there. It would be all whites. Did you face any sort of racism, and how did you deal with this different language? It's Dutch there.
Yeah. So one very very good thing about Netherlands is that I think it's probably the only country in Europe where people do speak Dutch, do speak English.
Okay.
And if you go every nook and corner of the city, you'll see people speaking English. And if you go to some other parts, like I have my friends who have been to France and Germany, they're like it's very tough to talk with the locals and go to shops and buy stuff because they only speak French, and they will look down upon you if you don't speak their own language. But in Netherlands, there's no such thing as that. Like there's, I mean, of course there will be more whites, of course, but in terms of being more what do you call accepting, they're I think quite the best. I
Okay.
didn't have any like racist stuff happening to me. Yeah, overall it's like quite good. People are very very accepting, and you can speak English everywhere. It's quite fluent everywhere here.
All right. So, did you had any sort of cultural shock or something in the culture of the Netherlands that is quite the norm, but is very much weird from our perspective?
I think the biggest one would be like people bike here. Bike, when I say bike, it means cycle. And when I say people bike here, I also know people who biked from my place, it's just Enschede, to Amsterdam, which takes around 7-8 hours. So people bike that long of a distance. And like in the center, you're not even allowed to bring cars. It's all people walking or using their bikes. So, which I also think is quite good in terms of course, sustainability and stuff is different stuff, but also in terms of a good exercise, it's quite good. And also, even my profs here come just by their cycles, so which is quite nice to see. Like it's a very level playing field. It makes you feel more connected to everyone. There's no hierarchy. So yeah,
All right, that part is weird. And
yeah.
what about the work culture?
Yeah, work culture. Dutch people do have a very distinctive work culture here. So everyone does 9 to 5, and when they say 9 to 5, it's 9 to 5. There's no overtime. There's no extra work and stuff. And when they say 9, they also are very punctual about it. So when you say when I have my lab mates in my lab, they'll always turn it at 9 and they'll always leave at 5, and they work mostly till Thursday, and on Friday also they take half the day, and then weekends they don't work at all. So even if you like try to mail them in your work email, they won't respond on the weekends. So they're very very good at keeping this good work life balance. And also I think another good thing about the Dutch people in terms of work culture is that they can get things done. Like in India, I've seen like even though I mean I won't say very directly, but like uh, in labs I've worked, some people just stroll around, and when I say stroll around, I mean in terms of the work. It's just like going around, then finding a point. But here people first try to find a point and then go towards it instead of just roaming around and trying to just hit the bullseye out of nowhere. So that's a quite good thing about the work here. People get things done.
All right, that's pretty great. And when it comes to the punctuality part, note that it's the third week when we are trying for this podcast. So next up we have, I want to ask you like what is your opinion on this Europe versus the Americas then? The work culture you said, the biking you said, the sustainability. How would you then say about a person who is planning to either go to Europe or the Americas?
Okay. So US was never an option for me. First of all, I'm more of a guy who doesn't like big buildings and stuff. So Europe is very of a society where people are. I don't have the quite the right term to say it, but it's more where people are connected to the roots, I would say. And like even here in my city, it's a very small city, and it more than a city, it feels more like a community where it's like on weekends people will be going on the center and doing stuff. So it's more like that, a community. And another bigger reason of me coming to Europe was I did apply to US during my internship season, but at one point I realized that the research I'm doing, fluid mechanics, the fluid dynamics community is really strong here. So people collaborate from, let's say, my group is collaborating from people in France, people in Italy, people in Spain, and everywhere, even in UK. I would still consider it as Europe. So, so the fluid dynamics community is very strong. I mean, there would be, let's say, talk happening in Italy or France. Then you can easily go there and learn stuff, or even if there's conferences and stuff. So that was one of the bigger reasons I would say that's why I chose Europe over US. And also, I have heard that there's also racist stuff in the US, which of course I'm not very fond of. So I mean, I think everyone is not fond of. So yeah, so probably these two reasons, but the bigger reason I would still say is because the fluid dynamics community is really strong in the Europe.
All right. So next up is how did you even get interested into research? Like as I am talking to you, I realized that okay, the mechanical was not much related to the part you are doing it right now. So did you had
Yeah,
this in mind beforehand? Because as per the norms, we have the people who mostly go for the placements here.
yeah, yeah. So I think it goes back to high school. Like I had a bunch of friends who are doing pure physics now, as in like they are in ICERs, and yeah, ICERs and some are in other IITs. But I my all of my friends in my circle, they were into pure research. From like we had this pact that everyone would go into physics and do physics stuff and pure research, but some of them bailed out. And even when I got my like for me during my high school, JE mains and advanced was not a bigger part of my target. It was more of KVPI because I wanted to get into IISc, but that thing didn't work out. And then after when I got into like I got the rank in JE advanced, I was like almost 80% sure that I was gonna go into one of the ICERs, but later I dropped the idea because of some other reasons, which I don't want to talk about. And then I thought that like I talked to people, even from people from ICER and people from IIT, both students and prof, and I then people told me that it's still possible that you can go into physics after even if you did your bachelor's in engineering. So with that hope, I did go into bachelor's and in engineering, and the field that I chose was mechanical, because mechanical is quite close to physics in terms of that, because there's a field called as fluid dynamics, and that is quite physics. And yeah, even after my first year, like from the very first year I was into research, like I started working in my second semester with a prof in IIT. And uh, even after my first year was done, and I had a quite a good decent CPI, and which was enough for to transfer into CS. And like most of my friends were quite sure that I would change into CS, but I did not. And because I was pretty sure that I wanted to go into research, so going into CS doesn't make sense to me.
So,
So
like,
the long answer short, yeah, I was totally into research even before I came to IIT. It was since I was 16.
okay, all right. So, how are you managing to study physics? Because, as you said, that you were doing internships when you were in college. You obviously have the academics, mechanical comes on a tougher side, and then you had this physics. So, how are you
Yeah.
managing the time? Like in between the extracurriculars, also, did you have part in the extracurriculars, and what sort of extracurriculars?
No, not really. So I was most like I yeah, that's one of the disadvantages of being in engineering and doing physics later on, is that you have to give a lot of time to studying extra stuff because it's not covered in your regular curriculum. So most of my extra time was spent on either in lab or mostly studying normal physics, like or something related to math, so that I can learn physics more, because physics is mostly a bit extra math in some physical sense thrown into it. So yeah, in that way, it's not very advantageous to be in engineering and do physics, because you do have to put more extra work to get into it. But when I look back now, I would say it was quite worth it. I'm very happy that I did put the extra efforts, and right now, like I'm in a position where I can do what, like 24 hours, what I like the most. So that's the best thing I never regret about that.
All right. And then you said that you went into the research in your second semester itself. So I would say
Yeah.
that the undergraduate researcher had this beginning. How did you approach the professor, and what work did you do? Because and how much knowledge did you had of physics at that moment? So can
Yeah.
you explain how much that progressed you into becoming a researcher in physics?
Mhm. Yes. So my work. So after I was done with my first semester, I took a course in radiation, because I just wanted to start with something. I didn't know what to start with. Like fluid dynamics came later on, but I just wanted to start with something. And radiation is something Professor Rishi Raj was working with. Not exactly radiation, but boiling, radiation, convection, and stuff. Heat transfer mostly in a broader sense. So I had heard about him, quite good stuff, because he was also. I think the year that I joined in, he was awarded the Young Scientist Award or something by the Indian National Science Academy, which is quite a prestigious award to get. And so I knew like he had a good, you know, work reputation. So I wanted to work with him. So I did a course in heat transfer mostly, and I also did a course in MATLAB, just to get computational programming. It's called computational programming in MATLAB, I guess. It's by NPTEL. So I did that, and once I did that, I mean, I just did that so that I could show to the prof that I am serious about it. And most times the prof, I mean, the work you will do in research is something very not related what you are studying, but the professor wants to know how much serious you are about doing the work. So when I first approached him, uh, I told him that I did this course. I also know MATLAB, at least the basics of it. And mm, and then he replied that second semester is too young for this. Come to me when you are in your fourth semester. And I was very sad about this because I was already, in one reality, I was already doing research. So I do wanted to get in. So I mailed him again that let's just talk for once in your room, and then we can decide if we want to, go forward with it or not. So then I talked to him, maybe like 2 times after that, and then I convinced him that I want to get in. Then he also I think it's a good thing that you have a good CPI at the start, because he always asked me like what my CPI was, and he also didn't want me to lower my CPI just because I'm doing some extra research work. That was not what any professor wants. So he had always asked me if I'm keeping up with my grades or not. So yeah, that's how it started. And then I talked to him. Then he gave me uh, like he had done some previous work on. It's not very fluid dynamics. It's called fluid statics, I would say, and it also has a big part of maths in it, applied maths in it. He gave me that, and he told me to do a couple of basic. When I look at it now, it's very basic stuff, but I think at that point it was a bit tough to get into. So I took like 1 or 2 months, and then I mm, started working with him like more as a fully, I would say.
Okay. So as I am talking to you, like now at this point, I wish to ask
Mm-hmm.
you, like, how many hours were you devoting to studies on a typical day? Because it seems you were taking extra courses, you were doing research, and you were also there were academics that you were being at the top. As you said that you had high CPI to get into CS. So what was your daily routine like?
Uh, it was. I mean, we had classes till around 5 or 6, right? That's how our first year courses are, right? I'm not sure now. Is it?
Yes, it's the same. It stays the same.
Yeah. It's like it starts from 9 and it ends at 6, something like that. So, yeah, it used to be like that for me too. 9 to 12, then lunch. Then after that, again, go back to lab or class. Then after I'm done with my classes, I would probably sleep for an hour or so, and then take dinner. And after dinner, I'd always used to go. Like this is what I'm saying for my first year. Of course, first year was more hectic than the other years, because other years I got to know what to do. So once you know what to do, then it gets easier to do stuff. And yeah, in the first day that after I'm done with my dinner, I'll go for a stroll with my friend, and then uh, after that, I think at around 9 or 10, I would probably go to lab, or I would sometimes study in my own room. I was not a very library guy, so I like to study in my own room. So probably around till like 2, 3 in the night or morning, whatever you want to say, and then again it's kind of repeat. And on the weekends, sometimes I didn't do stuff, but on some weekends I used to work the entire day, like from 10 to 10 in the night. It's like 12 hours.
All right.
So yeah, first year was quite hectic.
Okay. And then you got the Israel internship. And by the way, was that remote or on site?
Yeah. So once I started doing work with Risiraj, then I was applying for my. And this was during the COVID times.
Okay.
So yeah. So when I was in my third sem, I started applying to universities, different universities, and then I had got into France. It's a university in Rennes. But the thing was, it was more of an experimental position, experimental plus a bit of modeling, mathematical modeling. And because of COVID, this thing got turned down, the France thingy. So I had to, I think I got to know it around April, and my thing was supposed to start in May or June first week or something like that. So in that 2 months, I started searching for something else again, more of a numerical thing, and that's when I got into Liverpool. And Liverpool was my choice because first of all, it was numerics, so you can just work at home. You don't have to go there. And the thing is, and during the COVID years, total restriction on going out. And also, the professor was really, really good, and he had uh, given me full liberty to work whenever I wanted to. So first I got into Liverpool. I worked till, I mean, full-fledgedly, I worked with him for 3 months. And after that, I still worked with him for another year, but it was not full-time. It was like I would probably meet him once in 2 weeks or sometimes even in a month. So I was doing my other stuff and also doing his stuff. And the Technion one, the Israel one, I worked also with him in remote. And that was uh, when I was in my fifth sem. I was doing my courses. I was also doing the work with my Liverpool professor. I was also doing my work with Rishi Raj, but I also thought that I have some extra 2 hours in my day, so probably why not do some extra work? So I contacted him, and also I was supposed to go to him too, but because of the COVID thing, it didn't happen. So I mailed him that, hey, we talked once and we are supposed to do stuff together, but it never worked out because of the COVID. So maybe you can give me something numerical, theoretical to work on. And that's how we started talking, and then I worked on that project. But I would say that project was not quite a success. I worked for some time, and then it got too much. I got to know that in the 2 hours that I have for my day, it should be for rest and other stuff, not for the another 2 hours of work. So later on, I think I worked with him for like 2.5 months or 3 months. After that, I stopped working with him.
And what was the work about? You said that it was more numeric based.
Yeah, so with my Indian professor, with Professor Dr. Isiraj, it was about stability of liquid bridges. So liquid bridges are basically, let's say you have two plates, and there's some liquid in here, and if you if you bring very close and you just drag it along, then there will be an interface that will form between these two plates. So it's basically studying how much stable that liquid bridge was. With my professor in Liverpool, we talked about I think they should know, mechanical students, that something to do with non-Newtonian fluids. Non-Newtonian fluids is basically something which is not Newtonian, in a very easy way to say. And not Newtonian is, let's say water and stuff is Newtonian. But when you talk about honey, when you talk about paint, those are like polymer solutions and stuff, those are called non-Newtonian. And when you talk about non-Newtonian fluids, the physics changes a bit. I mean, the governing equations are still the same, but a bit extra models and more corrections has to be done. So in a very layman terms, that's what I did. But in terms of more technical stuff, it's something different. And with the Israel professor, I worked something called this density functional theory. So density functional theory is basically it's something to do with a bit of more quantum side, but I didn't work on the quantum side. It was more on the classical side, but it was basically how it was more of a nanoscopic scale. And it's basically, let's say there's an interface. This is your interface. This is water, this is vacuum. How the molecules will aggregate around the interface based on what the forces are, or based on what the liquid is. It's basically the arrangement of these molecules. So there are equations to solve. And if you solve those equations, you basically get the arrangement of those molecules.
All right. I understood everything, I believe. So I wanted to ask this one more thing. Like in the domain you were working in the physics, were you publishing the papers, and how are you presenting your work to the new professors you were applying to?
Yeah, I think when I was in my bachelor's, it was a very big thing that I wanted to publish papers. Like I had this target that I would publish like 3 papers in my bachelor's, but it didn't work out. And what happened was like with my Indian prof, it's I never really got a good storyline. So with research, there's lots of downfalls. So with my Indian professor, I never got a really good storyline, but we are sorry, but they're still writing something, and I am not sure how, if it's gonna get into a paper or not. I'm not really sure. And the Israel one I would say first, because it was a 3 month thingy, so it was not much work done, so it's not good enough for a publication. But for my uh, Liverpool one, I was quite sure that we'll publish something. We did publish it, not publish. We presented in a conference in Spain. I didn't present. He was there. It was during the COVID stuff again, and but after 1 year and 2 3 months after we got the whole idea of it, we got to know that the model that we we're using was not sufficient enough to capture the whole behavior of the fluid. And with that, like, uh, I think when I got to know this, and he got to know like the whole model, it doesn't work. I think I like probably I skipped lunch and dinner for like 3 4 days because I couldn't gulp the fact down that the model doesn't work, which I was working for 1 year 2 months. So yeah, that's it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And uh, a general question I had this is that because when you don't have the publications, you just say that okay, I
Yeah.
have research experience, I have done some internship there.
Yeah.
In general, like, did you had you gotten some sort of certificates of these internships, and that
No.
the students can present to us? Because then there comes the question that I have seen a lot of students who they hadn't done any internship, but when the programs came, they just wrote it in the resume that okay, they had done. And is there any sort of definite thing that we can do about it?
Yeah. So I think like the bigger certificate is knowing about what you are doing. So like I didn't have publications to show. Like when I was applying for my second year uh, uh, internship, of course I cannot get published in just 4 or 5 months of me doing research since my second semester. So it doesn't make sense that way. So I realized what profs wanted was that you know what you are doing. So let's say when you're presenting a work, your own work, you should know like A to Z of it, like everything about it. And like the intricacies, like there can be some details which is very tough, which you cannot get, but at least you should know that there are some details that is tough that you don't get. That's what I'm saying. And like when I talked to professors and when I presented my work, they had questions about it and they wanted to see how serious I am about my work and how much knowledge, domain knowledge I have about the work. So I think more than having publications, as in just how do I say it? Because I do know people who have publications, 2 3 publications, but they were mostly someone who did a bit part in it, and they're probably the third author or second author, something like that. But I won't say that's helpful to just have your name published in a paper just for the sake of it, and you don't have any knowledge about the domain. That doesn't help at all. So more than papers, uh, I would say focus more on what you can get out of the project, know every bit about it, read more about it, and once you talk to professor, I mean, he would be an expert in that domain, so he would know if you're talking bullshit or you're actually talking sense.
Okay. Okay. And then we go on towards your last internship in college. That's the Netherlands one. And you had
Yeah,
the BTP also offered there. How, like,
yeah,
did the college had some sort of policy that they knew that okay, these guys do BTP and we should offer them? And how did you even get that internship? Particularly, you landed up in Netherlands. That's a very odd
yeah,
country to target for.
yeah, exactly. So uh so it was in my fifth sem when I started applying for my third year summer internship. So I had first gone into those obvious routes like MyTex and stuff. So I had also got into the MyTex in Canada with in I think University of Vancouver, and I'd also started like these are those obvious routes. I think everyone knows about it now. I'm hoping, and the other route is coal milling professors. So I wanted to coal mill some big shot professors, big shot as in like people who are like big names in my community, and uh, the person I'm working with right now, uh, Detlef Lose. So he is like a really big shot in our community. He has been a recipient of Max Planck Medal. Max Planck Medal is considered as the second most prestigious medal in theoretical physics other than the Nobel Prize. And the first winner was Albert Einstein. So he's that big of a name in the fluid dynamics community. Everyone knows about him. So there's other also some people in MIT, some people also in Germany and stuff who I targeted, and that was more of a uh, I was not expecting those offers. I was just putting it there just to see if someone responds. I'll be happy if someone responds, and if it doesn't work, I'm still happy because I have an offer in Canada. So that still works. So it was more of a backup plan to me that I applied to Detlef, thinking I won't get it. But somehow he replied. Then we had a 3-round interview, first with this PhD student, then with his postdoc, and later with him. And then he liked the work, and then he invited me over to Netherlands for my summer internship. And when I started with my summer internship, yeah, it was quite good year. Of course, it was my first time outside. I've been wanting to go outside since it's my first. I mean, since my second year summer internship, but it didn't happen because of the COVID thing. So I was first of all very happy to get outside. And the second thing was they gave me a lot of academic liberty, which is very, very important for me. Like, I hate when someone tells me what to do. So they never told me what to do. They told me, like, these are the stuff you can do, but they never told me you should do. And I started working on a project, and it turned out pretty well. I also started working on something else too, something of a novelties. And at the end of the internship, I presented to Detlef, and he was quite happy about the work. So after we had done, he suggested me that maybe because it was 3 months internship, you cannot. Also in fluid dynamics, it's very it takes quite a long time to publish something or make something which is worthwhile. Even if you don't publish, if you want to have some good results, it takes quite some good amount of time to uh, get the result. I'll say probably like a year or a year and a half. So it was just 3 months. So I just did mostly the modeling and uh, a bit of investigation, I would say. So he said, so he asked me if there's a possibility of BTP out here, if I can do my bachelor's thesis here in Netherlands. So I said that's not possible. And then he later suggested that maybe what you can do is, like, you can still do the work that I did in Netherlands, but with my Indian prof as a co-supervisor, like with Rishidas as my co-supervisor. So I'll be still in India doing my BTP, but the work that we'll do is what I did in the Netherlands. So that's what he suggested me at first. So I was also not very sure if that's gonna work out. And later on, when I went home, so till now I wasn't sure that I was gonna do my BTP in Netherlands. So they just offered me that if this is possible. I said no, it's not possible, but I will talk. And I said I will talk. It was mostly a no, because there I don't think there's anyone who did their internship abroad or for an entire semester. So when I came back to India and I talked to Dean and my uh, uh, supervisor and faculty advisor and everyone, I devised the plan on what I can do, which I can talk later on, the procedure. And then once I figured out that it's possible, I talked to him again, Detlef, and I told him that yes, it's possible. Maybe you can do this and this, and then you can make this possible. And yeah, then the paperwork went through, and finally it happened. And then in my 8th sem, I went for my bachelor thesis in Netherlands.
Okay, so that later is now. You have
Okay.
the next question is just that was your master plan to get the 8th semester abroad, and how easy the
Yeah.
paperwork was.
Okay, so the paperwork was definitely not easy. If I look back at it now, I think mental trauma that it caused me, I would say I won't go back again doing that 8 semester thing. It was too much for my brain to handle. But I'm happy now that I went through it and it came out well. So what I did first was, once I got to know about this offer, I knew that there was not any provision in IIT Patna that you can do an entire semester abroad. So first I went, I mailed the dean. Uh, I think when I say dean, I mean the dean of academic affairs, I guess.
Academics.
Yeah, academics. Yeah, yeah. So I first talked to him. Then he said, mm, okay. So what he said was, on the last semester, that is 8th semester, you have 36 credits to do. No, 30 credits to do. I think it also depends on what you are studying. For mechanical, it was 30 credits. Maybe for other branches, it would be different. So for mechanical, it was 30 credits to do. And out of those 30 credits, 18 credits were the project. And there were 2 courses extra, which is 6 credits. So it's 18 plus 6 plus 6. So it was total 30 credits. 18 credits of project and 12 credits of courses. So he told me that if I can, so the BTP which I will do here will count as those 18 credits. So he told me that if you can get me an outline of how you're gonna do those extra 12 credits, then I can help you with it. He said me that. So after that meeting, I started thinking about it. So I had 3 suggestions. I don't know if I can outline all the 3 now, but the first one was that I do the course. I do courses in Netherlands and then transfer it as credits to in IIT Patna. But the thing was, the time period doesn't match us, and the courses here have lesser credits than the credits that are in IIT Patna. So it doesn't actually convert directly. So that was out of the plan. Second suggestion was that what I do is just take exams of the 8th semester, but online. So I'll be here. Be doing all my coursework. I'll be learning it myself, and then when there will be exams, I will just do it online. That was the second possibility, but they also rejected that, saying that mm, I mean, because of this mandatory attendance criteria, you have to be present for classes. So that was also out of the plan. The third one was to do those extra 2 courses worth 12 credits in the 7th semester itself. So now that was a bit difficult because first of all, in the 7th semester there are already 6 courses plus BTP. So also I don't know how it works for other departments, but in mechanical it's for the 7th semester you have 6 credits of project, and for the other semester in the 8th semester you have 18 credits of project. So you still have to do 6 credits of your project in the 7th semester. So it was 1 project, 6 courses, and with that I would also have to take extra 2 courses. So it would be eight courses in total. And at that point I think I was too pumped up about the idea, so I said yes to it. And I then talked to my faculty advisor about the whole thing. Then he said, then I told to him that if I can make the extra 2 courses worth 12 credits, then it can be possible. Then what he suggested me was I do courses in that semester which aren't clashing with my timetable. And he also made sure that the exams also don't clash. So that was very good on him. And so I finally devised the whole plan, like the number of courses I will do, at what time it doesn't clash. Then I also got a signature from those professors, which I'll do the extra courses from, saying that they don't have any issue with me because I was registering late because I was going this paperwork after a month. So I also had to get signed stuff from professors there, and from the courses that were extra for me. And once I got those signs, then I thing. Then I also had to get a mm, yes from my supervisor, DC Raj, saying that he doesn't have a problem with me doing my internship there, those extra 18 credits in the 8th semester. So after this, I had a whole list of stuff like signs from every professors and stuff, and then I presented it to the dean, outlining him everything. Like I'll do this extra 2 courses in this semester, and in the last semester I'll be just left with 18 credits to do, and that 18 credits will be turned into my BTP there. So yeah, that's how it worked. And then after that, there was of course lots of stuff happened, but in the uh, small story, I would say like I submitted my application on August 14. I remember that I submitted my application on August 14, and I got my NOC on December 2nd. So from August 14 to December 2nd, it was going to the dean's office almost every day. But yeah, it worked out at the end.
Yeah, I know the struggle. So,
Okay, yeah.
okay, this now it's more like the final segments. Just a personal insights from you that as you are working in Netherlands, then what are, as you said that you are working in a pretty big under a pretty big professor. Are you currently doing an MS or a PhD, and what are your future plans in this domain?
Yeah, so my plan from bachelor's was that I would do directly a PhD after my bachelor's, but in Europe that's not possible. That's possible in US, where you can do a PhD directly after BTech. Here, people require a master's before you do your PhD. So I joined in with my. Uh, so it's basically like an offer to do a PhD with Detlef, but since I have to do fill the minimum criteria of being a master's student, so he told me to do the master's thingy, and it's funded the whole master's thingy. And once I'm done with my master's, then I'll start with my PhD under him directly after that.
Okay.
So it's pretty much I'm still doing work with him, and I'm still uh, very much doing research with him. But it's on paper, it's master's, yes.
All right. And then, what are you making your profile like? Is it more diverse? Is it more niche? And what would you say about diverse versus niche profiles?
Yeah, I mean, I would say at this point of my career, I would say make it more niche so that you can pinpoint some. I mean, I'm just talking about research though. So, uh, so if you can make it very niche, then it's easier to get into a group which works in that. So let's say if you work in, let's say, fluids, and some other work is in solids, some is in some other stuff altogether different, then the professor is not sure if you are actually interested in the field A, because you are also doing work in field B and C. So he would be interested in someone who is doing just work in A. And when I say work in A, also there are like lots of diverse topics in A. So you can do diverse topics in A, but I would say still stick to topic A or subject A or whatever you want to say. And once you get into your PhD or after your masters, and once you have secured your, you know, like what you want to do, then you can start diversifying. Like right now, I mostly worked in fluid dynamics, mostly in, when I say fluid dynamics, it's also very niche in that I'm working in small scale, so it's mostly droplets, and I'm working in multi-phase, so it's fluid dynamics, then it's multi-phase, then it's small scale, so it's like I'm going towards the root kind of, it's branching towards that. And right now I'm also very interested in something called as active matter and biophysics. So my my immediate plan was to for my, there's an internship thingy that happens in masters, so my immediate thing was to go for a internship with a professor in Cambridge who was working in biophysics. But I got the news this week that he will not be available during my internship period, so that will not be possible. So I'm trying to diversify more into biophysics also now, and I'm also going more towards more math side of fluid dynamics. So I'm trying to diversify more. I'm still in fluid dynamics, but I'm trying to diversify more into the subfields of fluid dynamics. So yeah, but like I think I'm now in a good position to diversify. But if I would ask, if someone in third year or fourth year or second year asks me if they want to diversify, I won't say yes to that, because then it will just make the professor more confusion that if he is actually serious about the work or he's just just experimenting at it.
Okay. So, what are the most precious tips that you would like to share to the people who are actively seeking to go into the research domain?
Hmm. Well, it did not be in order, and I also might miss some very important points. But something to make very clear in research that you fail a lot. So first of all, you cannot get disheartened very quickly that some stuff didn't work out, so we just stopped doing research altogether. It's not like that. Like uh, I told you, right? Like I was working in that project for 1 year and 2 months, and after that 1 year 2 months I was done. I got to know that the whole model is a big flop, so it didn't work out. So setbacks in research is very common. Like even in small scale, even like probably you will be working on some idea you will be working on for 4 weeks and it won't work. Sometimes those 4 weeks come in 4 months even. So the thing is that you have to keep trying it again and again, even if the results doesn't come out. That's one. um, I would say, for me, I would say it's a good thing about research, but some might say it's a bad thing. And what I've also seen is that people don't read much more than they just do what the professor asks them to do. So I think for, let's say, a person is doing the internship with a professor, it's also important that you go an extra mile, read about the whole project, know all about it, and just not follow orders from your professor, and try to do something about it. I mean, even if it's stupid, you should go with it. Because I remember even during my work that I did with my Indian professor, with my Liverpool professor, and even in the Netherlands, I remember bringing something up as a new research topic, which I find very stupid right now. But I'm very happy that I did bring it up, because at that point it was not stupid for me, of course, but it gives me the courage now to bring up new topics. And also uh, this thing has refined more and more. Now I can bring up topics which are actually quite decent in terms of research, which I wasn't able to. So you have to get into practice of bringing out stuff on your own and not just follow orders. And second thing, let's say your whatever your field is, I would say, let's say mine is fluid dynamics. You should try to know at least the big, uh, not just the big guys, but also the big papers that is very fundamental in your field. You should read about it, even if you don't understand. It's okay if you just get the gist of it. It's quite all right. And for this, I would say academic stalking is quite good. Like you should stalk more people, and you should start seeing what they used to do, what they are trying to do now, so that you also have a very good idea about um, what the new research topics are, because some of the topics are very old. And if you, let's say, look at the let's say you go to a profile of a professor and see their most cited work, it would be a work that they did probably 10 years back, but which is not very relevant now. Maybe just check their recent works and see what they're focusing on right now, so that you also know what to focus on. And other stuff, I would say, don't hesitate to take courses. I still wish that I took more courses outside of my curriculum. But sometimes what happened was I would take some course, probably do some week, 3 week of lectures or 2 week of lectures, and then I would stop thinking that okay, this might not help. But I did quite a lot with many courses. But when I think of it now, probably I should, if I had have finished it, then at least I would have had not gone through again now. So instead of like just thinking if I should do it or not, just do it and see if it doesn't work out now, it's fine. Maybe 10 years later on, it might work out for you, that learning. And also knowing stuff is good. It did not be just you know stuff just to apply in your field or something like that, but just even if it's not related to your field, just knowing about stuff is good. And other stuff like I would say when it comes to physics, it's very important that you also have that childlike enthusiasm for physics. So for that, I would say probably watch movies about scientists or something, or even you can listen to podcasts. There are lots of podcasts about physics. I mean, on my I can also echo my personal one. There's one called this Daniel and Jorge Explain the Universe, where there's one Jorge is I guess the cartoonist, and Daniel is a physicist in CERN, and he explains to that cartoonist as a layman terms about physics, what's happening in physics. So it's so for that to that childlike curiosity to still be there, I think you should grow it more in whatever way you want to. Maybe you can also subscribe to physics magazines like Physics Today and stuff, or read articles about it which you find fascinating. But you shouldn't let that curiosity and that enthusiasm die for physics. Otherwise, you would do stuff well, but I think in the long run you will get bored of it, and you won't feel enthusiastic about doing stuff in physics anymore. So I think to harbor that, you should do stuff outside of the just courses and stuff.
And yes, the obvious, take care of your CPI. Those were some
Yeah.
pretty unique tips from your end still. And so, like the next stuff would be that anything that you could have done better, any mistake which you made in the college.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, I mean, many things I could have done better. One was, of course, read more. I didn't used to read much. I would say for the first year, I used to mostly follow orders from my supervisor, which I think now is shouldn't be done, and we should try to, uh, you know, read more papers about your work and start bringing up new ideas, which I didn't do, but I later did. So it's fine. But if you're starting out and you're just following orders, you shouldn't, which I did. And other stuff, I I don't quite have any um, mistakes. I mean, there are of course many mistakes, but I can't really figure it out now. I think something obvious. Mm, yeah, probably for some other time. I don't quite remember now.
All right, that's still fine. And now let's go on back to your college life and not about the academics now. So, what
Yeah,
activities you were involved into the college?
yeah. I was a part of the uh, SCME, the Student Council of Mechanical Engineering. I was also a what you call that academic mentor. But one thing that I was really interested in was to uh, bring out the what do you have now the research community. Like what is it? Is there a formal name to it?
Yes, we call it research community. It's still in the phase of formalization. We had
Yeah.
sessions, and this is the another step we are taking.
Okay. So is it it's under STC now, right? Student Technical Council.
Actually, right now I'm from the I'm a secretary from the ACC Council. It's the Academic and Career Council, and it's actually operating under both STC and ACC. But if I talk about the work, it's ACC doing it.
I see. I see. So that's I was very interested in bringing out the research community, and I couldn't because once I was done in my first year, I was there was COVID. I was home, and after that, after this COVID thing happened, I was in college just for 1 semester, and of course, I would have done something better in that 1 month, 1 semester that I was there, but probably I was a bit lazy and I was worked out with my whole work and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a very, very nice initiative that y'all came up with that with the research community. I'm very happy.
Okay, thanks for that. And what's the biggest thing, any sort of memory you would have from the college life, which you would like to share with us?
Yeah, like I don't have any like very pinpoint memories, but like in my first year, I remember what do you call that? The first year race that you make bots. What is it called?
Bots?
Yeah, like you make those racing cars.
Oh, I don't
Death
remember.
race. Death race is it called? I think it is by the SCME,
Okay.
where everyone is given a Arduino and you have to uh, make cars and it's remote control cars where you have to race down the track. Is it not happening anymore?
I don't know that much about SCME and how they are operating, so maybe
No,
that's
no,
the
like
reason.
it's for everyone in the first year. It's
Actually, I had first year online.
okay.
That's the
Okay.
thing.
Okay,
So
so yeah, like in that first year, we everyone was doing this thing of this remote control cars, and I think many of my friends that I made during this past 4 years in this bachelor's came from started in that through that race where we used to make robots and stuff till late night, and we bonded over that. And after that, I think one semester of coursework, we had to go back home because of COVID. So there wasn't much of physical bonding, but it was mostly through WhatsApp. And once the lockdown got over, yeah, like it was like we used to gossip and we used to go for iced tea late night around 2 a.m. In the night, and also in the sixth semester and seventh semester towards the end, we also went on a trip first to Sikkim and then to Jaipur and Delhi and stuff. It was quite fun. Like also, I do miss that hostel thingy that we used to have because it used to be this one building where one floor is like a unit, and in my room used to be the adda place. So uh, I think most times at around 3 o'clock, you'd see probably 18 rooms, 18, 17, 18 people packed in just one room, and we'd like, just talk shit and stuff. It was quite fun. I mean, I don't have a very distinctive memory, like just one incident or something like that. It was quite fun. And also, uh, like, while I was coming here, I was excited that I was going abroad for a semester, but I was also missing that I would miss the farewell and everything there because they had performed the farewell dance and stuff, which I missed. So yeah, I'd have loved to be a part of it, but yeah,
okay. And just to tell
pros
you,
and cons.
I believe that you just had the Nescafe. We right now have proper restaurant and then a cafe. It's I believe this night canteen also, and this another thing was there, anti-alcohol. It got stopped in between, and then this dosa house. So we had a lot of the things coming up in our time. Plus the central library.
And
Yes.
anti-alcohol is there now.
Yes. No, actually, anti-alcohol, I believe they had some workers issue. Don't know about the
Okay.
particular details, but it got stopped in between, and as a compensation, another cafe came up.
Okay, so there's no anti-alcohol now.
No, there's no.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, at our time, I think it was at the very start, in the first year, it was just the Nescafes inside the campus. And outside of the campus is used to be Zyka, I believe. And in the fourth year, as in like seventh sem, there anti-alcohol came up. Then there was Nescafe, of course, and outside of that, also a few other what you call panache, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. I think I also a couple of others also, couple of other restaurants also came up.
Yes,
It was
outside
nice.
outside we have plenty. Not that plenty in
Yeah,
a sense, but okay,
yeah.
better than you.
But like at the very first year, it was just Zyka that
Okay.
used to suck. But at the fourth year, it was quite nice. I would say at least there were choices.
All right. So we had a lot of constructions coming up and then after that. Okay.
Yeah,
It was a great session, I believe. I was actually expecting that maybe somehow I can cover up 45 minutes, but it still exceeded an hour. That's a great thing. And finally, what's the final message you would like to go give to the students who would be watching this video?
yeah. Mm, uh, More of a philosophical message is to be not worry about things. I mean, many things don't fall right into your place most of the time, and that is fine. Welcome to adulting. Uh, but eventually, if you put your mind into that, I'm pretty sure the stuff works most of the times. And even if it doesn't, you'll learn something out of it. So that's that. And also I was pretty sure that I wanted to do research, so I didn't explore much of other stuff. But I think for the first year you should explore everything, and by the time you're done with your first year, you should then start pinpointing what you want to do and work more on that, either it be research or coding or management or whatever you want to do. So first year you should do explore quite a lot in other fields too.
All right. So,
Yeah.
thanks a lot, Bhaiya, for coming to the session. It has been a
Yeah.
lot of patience, as I mentioned in between, that it's the third week we are trying, and you still agreeing to me every time when I say that, okay, now it's not possible, we have to delay. Thanks a lot for
Yeah.
coming. So, for the first session, I hope it's a success. It's going to be a clickbait for the 8th semester viewers. So, thank you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure too.